that it's okay for people to integrate cultural fashion pieces in their aesthetic, especially if they're not from that culture. They may not be educated on the meaning behind it, and somebody's culture is not your aesthetic that has a lot of meaning to them.
Well, cultural exchange is always happening. There is a difference between cultural appreciation and appropriation. I think that we should seek to understand and learn different cultures and admire them instead of just taking cultural aspects that are not your own and using them for a certain aesthetic or style. We really need to understand and respect these cultures because dominant groups can take from other cultures and not learn anything about them, and they can hold certain stigmas that can be offensive.
I do not think it's appropriate for other people to use others' cultural pieces of fashion into their own because it's setting a different example and having others show it off even though they're not a part of it and know what the meaning is behind it.
When asked the question, do I think it's okay for people to use cultural pieces of fashion and integrate it into their aesthetic even if they're not from that culture, I can say wholeheartedly, absolutely not. This is an issue that is just completely absolute to me, as only those who identify with a certain culture should be allowed to wear its customary clothing. Cultural appropriation is not only completely, blatantly disrespectful and ignorant and unacceptable, but it's also just unnecessary, as there are a multitude of things that a person can do to show appreciation for a culture if that's what you're claiming you are doing by wearing their clothing, which is the farthest thing from the truth. You can learn their language or cook their foods. Your aesthetic will survive without the mocking and the tearing down of another person's culture. So acknowledge what other people hold sacred and advance your aesthetic in a direction that celebrates your own culture or just detaches from that concept entirely, which is a very easy thing to do. Cultural appropriation is mocking, it is harmful, and it's never okay.
I think a good answer to this question would be it really depends. Because I believe that appreciating cultures, really taking the time to educate yourself and learn the history, purpose, meaning of certain cultural pieces in which you're not from is very important, especially if you'd like to integrate it into your personal interests. So what I do not agree with is cultural appropriation, and that is when we take cultural pieces from cultures in which we are not from and use it for a personal interest without regard to the history, the meaning, the purpose, and which is really important because you don't want to offend people from different cultures. You want to respect that culture, you want to respect the people from that culture. And yeah.